How goeth it with thy soul? That's the query I asked at the beginning of this first ever in-person alternative experience. Anyone want to share? Here's your chance. You're not interrupting. You're participating. You're collaborating. So, yeah. Go ahead. Shout it out. A word, a phrase.
Seeking. Curious.
Mm. Ever how it is going with your soul or not going? That's okay. You're welcome and wanted here no matter what. And we're not going to try and fix you. For me, my soul feels caught between two seemingly opposite poles. It's Christmas, which is my favorite holiday by far, because I am my mother's child. And second, because I love Christmas carols more than any other variety of hymn. Earlier this evening, I heard the warm-up of carols coming from the sanctuary, and I couldn't believe that I get to be a pastor of a church where such incredible music is not only possible, but an expectation. Second, we had vocal and instrumental descants at 7:30, and I didn't know that could or would happen. Excellence in music just doesn't occur on days like Christmas, but every Sunday, every Wednesday, here in this alternative, where tonight we have a harp, a ukulele, a piano, a violin, and more voices than ever. All of that is true, good, and beautiful. Even with all that goodness, on Christmas Eve, my soul feels flat. At least we had snow last year, so it felt like Christmas. Though my Texas nature is not going to complain about reaching 50 degrees on December 24th in Ohio. I will take it. Part of my current state is being tired. Part of it has been the constant stress of are we or are we not having in-person worship? COVID numbers, contact tracing, and the sheer number of cancellations because people, understandably, are frightened, scared, and every cough, sniffle, or scratch of the throat makes us wonder if we're the next tick mark in Ohio's exponential rise of COVID cases. It's been a heck of a week, hasn't it? It's been a hell of a year. And I don't even have words for the past 21 months. But if I did, I'm not sure that they would be good words or repeatable words in polite church company, even in the alternative where almost anything goes and just about anything gets said. Years ago, before I was a pastor, I made it a goal to attend as many Christmas Eve services as possible. I think I totaled 7 one year. And now I look back and question, God, what was that guy's problem? That's how it's going with my soul on Christmas Eve 2021. I can't say that I'm happy about it. It's just the way I feel. So what do we make of this feeling of being caught in between the joy of Christmas and the terror of the worst wave yet of this global pandemic? I'm not a fan of the fake it till you make it philosophy. That dog don't hunt. I'd rather tell the truth, name the conflicting emotions, and just say that it all feels a bit ugh. I don't like that mood, especially at Christmas. When Evan and I planned worship a few weeks ago, we went over hymns, and there was one for this service that was on the chopping block. Will we sing it? Will we not? When the present holds no promise. Little did I know that those lyrics would be words I'd cling to throughout this day. Last night, when I notated the carols for the carillon, I knew I had to include this melody because the words couldn't name this present context of hope and despair any better. Like any internet-enabled pastor, I wanted to know more about Danny Belrose, and who was the lyricist of this hymn. And sure enough, Google did not disappoint. There is a video that first aired on December 15th, 2020, on Facebook of him speaking about this very text. As a way of introducing the hymn, he told a story about his ordination. The person that prayed over him said something like, "In this new avenue, new arena of ministry, may you find yourself doing things that heretofore you've never done before. And may these things be gifts to you." Now, had that prayer been offered at my ordination, I might have lifted an eye to shoot a stare at the presiding clergy person, because I'm not sure if such a prayer is a blessing or a curse. It's like that old adage, may you live in interesting times. When the pandemic began in March 2020, I had no idea what we were in for. None of us did. At first, we thought we would take it week by week, and then through Easter, and then Pentecost, and then summer, and then never could I have imagined that we would encounter a virus that would require us to suspend in-person activities for 62 weeks. I'm pretty sure the search committee and I never covered pastoring in the midst of a global pandemic in the interview. They did not ask, "How are you with technology?" Or, "Do you know how to use iMovie?" And I didn't think to ask them, "What are your thoughts about online worship? Ever done it before?" But what about you? Did you expect that you would become proficient at Zoom? Did you expect that you'd learn how to live chat and greet people online with a genuine, though virtual, embrace? Did you expect that you'd learn how to create community at social hours or gather for a devotional at the ungodly hour of 7:45 a.m. on Tuesdays? Did you expect that we could not only continue our ministries, but build upon them and even create something new? Here's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. I had no idea what we were in for in March 2020. As the pandemic grew more serious and infections rose, I remember singing the hymn, "When the Present Holds No Promise." That first verse for me summarized what life and ministry were like. When the present holds no promise, and the path is sown with strife, and bleak darkness swirls around you, and deep thunder crowds your life. Have no fear of murky shadows, give no thought to failing light. In a stable, wrapped in starlight, joy and hope are burning bright. That's what life felt like the last 3 quarters of 2020. Finally, hope began to spring with the arrival of vaccines and decreasing cases, but Now we are worse off than we once were. And so another verse hits home. When the future looms before you, posing questions and demands, and the bright plans you projected fade like footprints in the sand, live the promise you are tasting. Fan the flames of faith within. In a stable, wrapped in starlight, you will find the way again. There's one common line, one thread that connects that entire hymn. In a stable, wrapped in starlight. In a stable wrapped in starlight, joy and hope are burning bright. In a stable wrapped in starlight, peace and courage can be found. In a stable wrapped in starlight, you will find the way again. In a stable wrapped in starlight, joy, hope, love, and peace abide. All of that in a stable on Christmas when the present holds no promise and the future looms before us. The very place where we are sitting, the very service in which we are participating in person for the very first time, was born out of the pandemic when we thought the present held no promise. We moved to this room initially because the air conditioners had gone out in the sanctuary. I had some ideas for how we could begin to play with the space, but it wasn't until Lisa Rashad came by one day and said, "Have you thought about pallets and Edison lights?" And then things started to take shape, if only in my mind. Marty Rowe acquired all the pallets, and we assembled them, some of them straighter than others. I remember Marty asking, "Do you know what we're doing?" "Not a clue," I told him, "but I think this just might work." We built the first 4 pallets, brought them inside, and there were 4, very naked, very wooden pallets with no covering whatsoever. But it was a canvas ready to play. Walmart came through, of all places. The felt fabric on the back was dirt cheap, and these canvas drapes were on clearance. It was a total score. And not only that, but artwork from Megan Rowe has also graced this space, enhancing its warmth and beauty. Evan brought his Yamaha piano, and shortly thereafter, a harp. From this space, we filmed stories of survival during Lent 2021, and our online viewership for this worship experience ranges between 70 and 80 views per week. Who knew we could do that? Who knew that was possible? Who knew the new horizons that would capture us? In my employee review document from January 2020, that's pre-pandemic, I actually used the phrase, "the alternative," to describe the next new worship thing that we hadn't figured out yet. But I forgot about that once COVID hit. But I never could have imagined that this, even tonight, would be possible, or that the alternative would come to shape as it has in the midst of a global pandemic. But leave it to the one born in a stable wrapped in starlight to draw our maps of God anew. I don't know what it was like for Jesus to be born 2,000 years ago, but I can imagine that our ancestors in faith felt that the present held no promise and the future loomed before them, posing questions and demands. And yet, the very best, most beautiful gospel good news was born then, just as it is being born now, in a stable, wrapped in Edison lights. Imagine that for a moment. This season is tough, and I imagine it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. And that's just being realistic. But here is what I know to be true. Here's what's saving my life right now. Here's the only way I can make some sense of how it's going with my soul. Though the path may not be easy, new horizons capture us. And the truths that we'll discover will draw our maps of God anew. We won't grow weary of the journey, but boldly venture with each stride. For there, no, here, in a stable, wrapped in starlight, joy, hope, love, and peace abide. Amen.